to build a form similar to this, like we have a label first name and text box, label last name text box, and we have a two buttons, save and cancel. So when we do the save, we want to store the data of these two fields somewhere. And when we do cancel, we'll clear the text from this text box. So our agenda is to complete this in different ways, in multiple ways, so that you guys learn a little bit for the Windows form. At the same time, you will learn for the C# 2. So to design this kind of form, what we do, we have a Windows form 1. So let's expand it a little bit so that you can look it well. So I'm going to delete this label. Now we have this button is from yesterday. So just leave it. We will add a label to display the text. In Windows form, we have an option to display the text. There is a control called as label. So in the label, if we do the right click and go to the properties, we have, look guys, here we have a lot of properties. So icon, this one is for the properties, and this one is for the events, and this one is for the property page. Generally we do work for these two. So currently we are not properties tab. So we have an option to provide the name for this label, and here is the property for the text to send the to show this display text, and all other are the decoration properties for the decoration like color, font, etc. So we will try to use this. So for the label, there is a naming convention. For the label, we use LVL, 3 word, and then for what this label is for the first name. So we say first name. Now for the text, we'll type first name. So is it visible, or I will enlarge the font? Can you see this, guys?
No, sir.
No? Okay. So let me increase the font size a little bit for now. Generally, we not do for the real one, but for here, I'll make it 20. So now it's visible, right?
28,
First
sir.
name.
Absolutely.
Now, very similar way, I just do the copy paste for this label. Now we have another label. So I will bring it here just by dragging, and I will change. Oh, sorry. In the designer. So, oof. Let me create again. Just look little bit problem. So I'm just doing the enlargement and now add a label. So we have a label over here, and go to the properties and make it LVL first name, and the text will say the first name. And for the font size, for now we are making 20. Generally, for real work, we will not change the font size. Now, very similar way, we can either copy paste or drag another label, and just again go to the properties and change the name for the label. Let's say LVL last name, and for the text, last name, and font size will make 20 so that you can see on your screen. Now we have two label. Now we need to add a text box. So for the text box, we have to find out in this toolbox. So there is where somewhere we have a text box. So bring it here just by dragging it. So I will just make it little bit bigger so that you can look, and just copy and do the paste. Now we have another text box, and for the naming convention, we'll go again properties and make the name for the text box as a txt. For the label, we have LVL, and for text box, we will use txt first name. And for this one, just do the right click again and go to the properties and make their name txt last name. Now we are able to design our these two fields. Now we need a button save and cancel. For that, in your toolbox, search for the button. So we have a button over here. Just bring it here. So for the button, let's increase a little bit the size. And we have here button. Again, go to the properties. For the button, we have a naming convention BTN. And for what? We have a save. And we have to change the text of the button. So we will say that save. Very similar way. We make another button and we change the text and the name of the button. So we'll say the text is cancel. And for the name, what we'll use? BTN cancel. Remember, we are using the camel casing. Now, the design is complete. So what we had a plan, when user click on save, we need to store it somewhere. But for now, when we run, what the output will be there? Let's check it first. So when we run, look in our form, we have an output of similar. We have a text box. We can type over here, and we have last name. But when we press save, there is no any action happening because we not had written any event for this one. So after this, let's create an event so that you can write some code for this save and cancel. So in Windows form, it's very easy to create an event. When we do the double click, an event is created. Or we have an option, go do the right click and go to properties. And there is an option for the event. So if you click over here, we have this click event. So if we want to create, we can create from here also. So if we select this one, we can create an event. So for now, for the easy purpose, what we do, we just do the double click and event is created for the button save. So very similar to this, if we do the double click for the cancel, we can generate a event for the cancel one. So when someone click, this will be fired, and when someone click on save, this will be fired. Now we have to store the data somewhere. So we can store it either in object, or we can store in file, or we can store the data in database. So if we store the data in object, what will happen? The value of object is stored where? In the memory, physically in RAM. So when your computer goes off, the data will be flushed. But if we store in file or in database, it will be stored permanently until we will not delete it. So for now, let's first store it in object. So to store the data, like we have only two fields over here, first name and last name, and the started the class we had created for the employee. We also have the two properties, first name and last name, and the user ID. But for now, we have to store only first name and last name. So we can use this class to store the data in the memory. So what I will do, I will create an object of this one in the this CS file save, and the good practice is create a function for the save and call that function over here, so that this block will be much more clear, so that if someone have to debug, they can find it easily. So for now, just create a function. So we'll say private. Why we are making a private? Because we do not want to access this method outside of this form. So we'll say private void save employee or save data for now, but the better name is always good. So for the employee, let's make it a save employee, so that it look a little bit more good name. So we are creating object of employee. So what we have to do now? We have to say obj emp equal to new. And now what we can do? We can use our constructor. So either we can use the default one, or we can use the parameterized. For now, we are using the default one. And after that, what we do? We will set the value of first name. So first name equal to, from where we get the value? What is the name of the text box? Txt first name dot text. Very similar way. Obj dot last name. So looks how Visual Studio is suggesting, like it knows like what we have to type. So we are able to set the value. So after doing this, as our this object is inside this function, so when our execution goes out from this bracket, the lifetime of this object is finished. So we only have a value within this bracket. So the scope of this object, we say like this is a local object. We have a scope of this object within this bracket. If we want to make it global within this form, what we can do? We can cut this line, and if we paste just outside, now this object is available within this form until we close the form. But for now, we will keep it local. So this is the way of creating a local object or local variable. If we say int id equal to 0, this is local variable and this is local object, because the lifetime of this object is within this bracket. So for now, we not need a user ID. Now, so we have a plan to store the value. So as this is the method, and we have to call this method from where? This click event. So, and for the cancel, what we have to do? We have to clear the text. So what we can do? Text equal to, either we can do like this, or I told you dot text equal to string dot empty. If you remember my previous class, we have an option for string dot empty. So with this, we just clear the value of the text. So for now, just run it, and our data will be stored within this. And when the execution goes out, no worry, it will be stored for now. But let's check what will happen now. So we have a form over here. Now, if I will type something in this and press cancel, look, the value of text box is clear. But if I will try to store it with the save, something is happened, but as it is happening within the object only, nowhere it is stored, so we have no option. But to confirm, we can just press put a debug point and look, how execution is going on. So if we again press the save button, so we must have a, oh, sorry, we need to create a debug point. And we have a form over here. We press it. Oh, why it's not coming? Just a second. We are running in release mode. So first we need to change for the debug mode. As I told you, the debugging information is available only in debug mode. So again, let's run it. Now we have a form over here. And when we type some name over here and try to save, we have a object and we are able to set the value. But as we just stored in object, if we do a step over, so look, till now we have a value within this object, but as soon as the execution passed over, the value of this one will be collapsed. So now we are able to store in object. So now our time is to save this data in somewhere file. So if I have to store the data in file, how we can do in C#? It's very easy. We can write this like a code over here just within few lines, but let's do a little bit better way. Though we can write the same code over here. So for easiness, first I will write over here, then I will take it somewhere else. So let me write the code. It's very easy. We have a object called as file in C#. We have a file. As it is looking little bit different color, because I have something declared previously. Let me remove it first. No, it's not over here, but as let me first build it. Why it's coming to green? There may be something included over here. No. Actually, the DLL have some reference over here. So actually, we have to reference it. System.io .file. This one that we need now. So we can write directly over here, or we can take it here as a using. And for the system namespaces, we always use them upper side. So system.io. Now we have a file of class. So with the file, we press the dot. We have a write all text. Let's try this one. Write all text. So there are too many things, but for now, for the easy purpose, this area is for the path. So I will say our emp data.txt, and then we have to store the text. So what I will do, I will pass this data over here, dot plus dot last name. So, and we have to add a few text so that you can understand what is this. So we say first name equal this plus. So as we can do in multi-line, so I will just press enter so that you can read it easily. And what is this one? This one is for the last name. And we say like this. After this, we'll just do the line close. So now if I will do, this will create a one text file within our bin folder, and it will store the data, first name, last name, in a text file. Let's try it. So if I will run it, and I will say Vijay Khadka and save. So if I want to confirm, I will go within this project. What is our project? This one is the project. So go in our folder Explorer, and in our bin folder and our file. So here is our empty data.txt file. And if we do the try to open it in Notepad, we must find our file, and the file output is over here. First name Ram and last name is Khadka. So with that small line of code, what we are able to do just now, we are able to remember only with single line is sufficient code somewhere else, where as we have a class library. So in our class library, we have a user management. So let's add one more class for now, file management. So I'm going to add a class. So for class, I will say the name of the file is, let's say, file management. .cs. Now class is ready, and we will make it public for now for the easy purpose. And we will say public void say file, and we will say like this, and we will paste over here. And we need it's already able to understand the system.io, but we need to get this data from the as a parameter. So what we'll say string. So here I will say txt to write. So whatever we want to write, we'll bring from there, and we'll say just write. We can bring a file name also from here. So what we'll say is string file name. So we'll bring this file name from the caller. Now it's ready. What we have to do? We have to supply the data from this form. So what we do? We'll create a string str data for file equal this one. So we just created a data. We not need this one over here. We'll say string str file name equals this one, and our string is ready over here. So what we have to do? We need to create object of this one to call this function. So I will create object of our file management obj file manager equals new file manager, and then the good name is file manager, but I created it file management, but nothing have to do with name. So I will say save file and I will pass. It's already knowing what I am going to type. So we are able to finish it. And after that, we can say show message box dot show. A message is a file is stored in the bin folder for now, and file name this time we say from class, so that you can see the effect. This time if we run, let's save everything and run it. Look, there is two icons. One is to save the current open file, and this one will save all the file that we had modified and opened in the tab. So I had done the full save and now running it. So with this, we have a form over here. This time we have a, let's say Vijay Parka, and let's press save button. Now we have a message also, file is stored in bin folder. So if we have to find out our file, we'll go in WinForm. For now, open our folder explorer, and where we have to go, bin folder, debug folder, and this one is the file that we want to see. So now this time we have a notepad, and look, the data is Vijay.